Well, gosh darn, I'm about to go leave and do a workout. And then I hear this news of the verdict being handed down to Trump today. And it was a guilty verdict of 34 counts. So Donald Trump was found guilty of falsifying business records related to the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels to keep her silent about an alleged affair. Now, obviously, this hush money was definitely not what he thought. Because as we can all see, that did not keep anything hushed. If anything, it was like opening Pandora's box by even paying this woman, if this is what they're saying, yes, he did, which now it's found that he is guilty of this. He definitely did pay Stormy Daniels this hush money, right? During the pre-sentence interview, a probation department psychologist or social worker may interview Mr. Trump and then allow him to argue for a lighter sentence. But the report may also include submissions from the defense detailing Mr. Trump's involvement in counseling programs or his employment status. Notably, he is campaigning for the presidency right now, and obviously a bid that may now be complicated by this if he does get a conviction and then sentenced to actual jail. I mean, this is like stuff I've never heard of in my life. Now, many of you guys have seen the first mugshot of Trump, and I'm curious to see what the next mugshot's going to look like. But people are going to want to know now, what happens now, right? What happens? So I looked it up and I did find out that even though he would have a status as a felon, he can still legally run for president. Voting, however, could be an issue. As a Florida resident, which he is, he would need to complete his full sentence, including any parole or probation to regain his voting rights, which is unlikely before election date. When is the election? In November. So they're doing this obviously as a strong tactic in order to keep Trump away from becoming president. President Donald Trump was convicted of 34 Class E felonies, New York's least severe felony category, but each carrying a potential penalty of up to 4 years in prison. Justice Merchan may consider probation or home confinement as alternatives. He has emphasized or previously emphasized that the seriousness of a white-collar crime like this is not something that they would really necessarily impose prison time, but that the sentences could run concurrently to each other. So if sentenced to probation, Mr. Trump could still face imprisonment if found guilty of the additional crimes. I mean, for me, at age 77, I look at this man and I think, why is he even doing this? At 77 years, Donald Trump, there's something that tells me this is when you should just go on, play your golf, enjoy your grandchildren, and, just que sera, sera, let things be, because these people were after you this entire time, and yet you still had held on. You were steadfast in your resolve to win this presidency again. Now, obviously, the first presidential run of Trump caught people, off guard. A lot of people just voted for him because at that point we were just tired of the swamp. And Trump promised to drain the swamp, and that never happened. Now, I've talked to people on the left and on the right, and people on the right will always stand up for Trump and say, well, he didn't have everything played. He didn't know what he was doing. He's not a politician. I hear the same arguments over and over and over about Donald Trump, and I keep thinking, yeah, but if I was Trump at this point, and I knew this was a witch hunt even during my presidency, why? Why do this to yourself? Why do this to your family? Why do this to your grandchildren, right? And I mean, I can't blame him for saying that, I'm doing this for my country. If you see your country going to shit and you have the ability to change things, I think, yeah, you probably would try your very best. So I'm not saying that he doesn't have the potential to still win. I'm just saying that with this verdict, with this being handed down, him being a felon, and then them saying that these sentences would run concurrently to each other, right? I don't think they're gonna just bypass imprisonment. I think they will try to put Mr. Trump in jail. I truly believe that. I know that they're saying that they'd sentence him to probation and probably some sort of alternative to putting him in jail. I mean, was a former sitting president. This is unprecedented what's happening. This is not something that's ever happened in US history. And yet he's still also dealing with 3 other criminal cases, 2 federal cases related to classified documents, and just an effort, they said, to overturn the 2020 election in another state case in Georgia. So, I mean, and that's for the election interference case, which, I mean, this man, how does he, if I was Trump, I would just be so exhausted. And I tried to check around and see who was there for him when this guilty verdict was handed down. And, the only person that was there for Trump was really his sons, His sons have been there. I haven't seen Melania. I haven't seen Ivanka. I haven't seen, it's mainly Eric Trump, and well, Don Jr. The point I'm trying to make is it's like, I don't know how this man is doing this. I truly believe this is really what's going to have to happen if you guys pray hard for this man, if you really love him. I don't love anybody like this, like anybody who's, a billionaire. Usually most billionaires get that way because they've made their own deals, right? That they have to consider and get out of with very bad people in high places. I mean, money doesn't flow to you in this world, in this planet, unless you are a part of something. And, who knows? When you turn your back, and this is from even the video I did earlier about Dennis Quaid and his brother Randy Quaid, people who turn their back on the institutions, what we have set up here in America, will be ostracized. They will be vilified. They will be witch hunt, as what Trump is the phrase he's been using through this entire thing, is this has been a witch hunt. And we know it. It's almost like watching a Salem witch trial happen, because it's just asinine, the stuff they're talking about. We've seen this happen throughout our entire democracy with every single president doing shady deals. And none of these people have suffered. None of them have faced imprisonment. None of them have been found guilty of crimes, felony crimes. So you have to ask yourself at some point, what is the big witch hunt for Trump? Why are they doing this? And it could explain a lot of why many people are terrified of him. I'm curious to know what is so terrifying about Donald Trump that they're trying to keep him out of the White House for a second term. And trust me, this is no slight at Ivanka Trump, because God knows she probably is. She's got her own family. She's got children. She's got a husband. Who knows? Maybe she's working some things out in the background. This is a smart cookie. These are children that he has they're all hardworking individuals. So I guarantee they're working something out in the background. But what it is, I don't know. What I do know is I don't trust that guy right there. That Zionist right there, Jared Kushner. I don't know. Something about him gives me the heebie-jeebies. Obviously, before Trump has anything else happen right now, his team is expected to file a notice of appeal. And given the nonviolent nature of his offenses, it's unlikely he will be imprisoned pending his sentencing date, which is coming up, I believe, July 11th. I mean, they're rushing this thing incredibly. It's nuts. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because if you think about that, right, the rush to do this is so that he will be in jail. That's the whole goal of this. But if they do appeal this, it could delay any punishment until after election day. So, even if, like, let's say they sentence him, he won't be serving any time or anything until after election day, because appeals can take months to resolve. But this is, in my opinion, legal weaponization in politics. And what that is basically just, targeting your political opponents, influencing elections, and using every strategy under the book that's a part of that. Selective prosecution, targeting people for legal action while ignoring other people with more severe infractions, creating these kind of appearances of justice being served, right? It's all for political gain. And then the investigative overreach, politically motivated investigations this is what's happened this entire time with Trump. And I'm shocked people can't see it. People are like, he deserves it. He deserves it. Do you know the man? Do you know him personally to even lodge these types of claims or assertions about him. I don't know Trump personally. I don't know what his character is like personally, but what I do know is there is something about him that they hate so much, they despise so much, they are willing to launch probes and investigations to uncover things that aren't even real, to fabricate wrongdoing. It's insanity what we're living through. It feels like dystopia. And here's the worst part. I was never even a Trump fan. I was never even a person on the Trump bandwagon. I hate to admit this, but I voted for Obama. I mean, they've literally made me at this point, and I said this on my friend who has way more followers on me on TikTok, and he does interviews with a lot of these candidates, with Vivek, everyone. And he told me, I said, I'm going to be voting for Trump now. They literally made me want to vote for Trump now. Biden campaign communications director Michael Tyler said in a statement, Donald Trump has always mistakenly believed he would never face consequences for breaking the law for his own personal gain. But today's verdict does not change the fact that the American people still face a simple reality that there's only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, and that's at the ballot box. Convicted felon or not, Trump will be the Republican nominee for president. And this is a threat. The threat Trump poses to our democracy has never been greater. I'm so sick and tired of this threat to our democracy, threat to our democracy. You know what our threat to our democracy is right now? The money that's in politics, the money given by AIPAC and given by big lobbying groups. That's what's a threat to our democracy. And he also went on to say in this article, this clearly makes it harder for Donald Trump to win the election, Rosenberg said. This will likely cause the acceleration of the tuning in process, and for more people just waking up to the thing that they'll be learning is that the leader of the Republican Party is a convicted felon. Do you think Americans give a shit about that? You know how many Americans have served jail time or have been wrongly accused of things or have been put in positions where they have, to fight for their loved ones that have been accused of things? Do you know how many people have at least one or two family members that have been incarcerated in the United States? Do you know how many men and women are incarcerated in the United States? We're the highest incarcerated country in the world. So this does not hold any weight for anyone. No one cares if he's a felon. He literally can go out and do something right now and people would not care. So it's funny how they keep saying we respect the rule of law and have no additional comment, said Ian Sams, spokesperson for the White House counsel's office. Bullshit. Okay, wasn't it Hunter Biden that was in the White House and then there all of a sudden was a baggie of some white stuff left there? I mean, we're watching a clown outfit. We're really watching a clown outfit. So yeah, guilty on all counts. America's first felon president. I think people will be still voting for him no matter what. Let me just finish reading what they said. It said, the threat Trump poses to our democracy has never been greater. He is running an increasingly unhinged campaign of revenge and retribution. That sounds very similar to what they're doing. It's just nuts. Pledging to be a dictator on day one. Really? Actually, all he's been pledging is to undo every single policy that you guys have put in place. So I have no idea what this whole revenge thing, but if Trump was smart and he did win, I would be plotting out my revenge on day one. That would just be me. And maybe, that's how I think. But it says, he's pledging to be a dictator on day one and calling for a constitution to be terminated so he can regain and keep power. Now, you guys have seen just this past week, Robert De Niro coming out saying that when he gets in the White House, he's never going to leave. I mean, the bullshit these people spew, I'm shocked that there's people out there that still buy into what they're saying. I mean, I don't know how stupid and dumb you could possibly think you are to think a person's going to go in the White House and they're never going to leave. What are they going to do? Lock the doors? And then somebody has to come rip them out? Just absolutely. It's unhinged but then again, when you watch Biden and Kamala Harris talk, it's clearly obvious that these are deranged, mentally ill people. They're a second term means chaos, ripping away American freedoms and fomenting policies. Oh God, I can't even read the rest of this. You guys read it. Tell me what you think. I'm going to go to the gym now because I've been putting it off and I do need to de-stress after watching this nonsense. It's just enough to make you... We need to do better in this country.